Football fans, Gooners, welcome to another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. And today, I have flying in the co-pilot seat. Perhaps we should even say he's a pilot, only because I have the software, so I'm keeping the pilot designation. I have my good friend Blackburn George. How you doing, George?
I'm all right.
So, George, today, of course, is our Bournemouth Arsenal review. We went up 2 goals very early in the first half, and I thought it was pretty much settled. I was expecting a bundle of goals. And I kept thinking, we're playing Fulham. I just couldn't. I'm writing down my comments. I was like, this is Fulham all over. But I guess it's a Scott Parker connection. But George, how good was Arsenal? How bad was Bournemouth?
Well, it's the old story, isn't it? You can only play as well as the team. You can only play the team in front of you. Mm-hmm. I mean, we completely outclassed them, boxed their ears, came on with an easy 3 points.
Yeah,
they were poor, but did we make them look worse than they are? And I'm not sure. I think they're a poor team, but regardless of how they played, we couldn't have asked much more. I mean, we could have had more goals. We could have scored more goals.
Yes.
But you can't complain about 3-0. It's comfortable enough afternoon. And like I say, we just keep playing like that, we'll win a lot of games. Everything's looking absolutely rosy in the Arsenal universe, while the rest of the world is falling round our fucking ears.
Well, that is a contrast, but the sports of football and professional sports is designed to distract you from what is happening in the rest of the world. By the way, George, I couldn't help but, since you mentioned that, I couldn't help but notice the empty seats in Bournemouth, and this was a home game. When they did a close-up shot, they were doing their best, I think, the broadcasters, to make it look like it was a full house. But things don't look so rosy down south, George.
Well, I don't know.
Yes. That's on the side.
Maybe there was a rail strike. There's a lot of
yes, you have a rail strike.
So yes. If you can't get around the country, and it's all right saying you can drive, but everybody else is fucking driving as well. That's a nightmare. You set off and you sat in traffic. So if people didn't go, they didn't go. I don't know. I have no idea what the terrain's like around there. There might be marauding bandits coming over and in inflatable dinghies getting off at Bournemouth and sliding underneath your car trying to get transportation somewhere. You never know. So yes. I'm not really qualified to comment.
You're right. Neither am I. I've not been to Bournemouth. I've not been any further than Birmingham, London, Birmingham. But it's, I'm in no position to comment. But I noticed that, and I'm always thinking about, by the way, George, how the prices of fuel and energy is affecting football fans. But that aside, Bournemouth started off very, I'm gonna say poorly, but they were stuck in their half. And by the 5th minute, Gabriel Jesus picked up that ball, beat 3 players, crossed inside. I think it went to Martinelli first. Don't get if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was a clever reverse pass, wasn't it?
Right. And
it was brilliant. It was a brilliant move.
Right. And I thought the floodgates were going to open, George. I really did. I thought they were not defending well, like they couldn't get close to us. But they kind of, and then we scored the second goal. And then they kind of made a defensive stand. They kind of were able to hold us off. But I wasn't impressed with them, really. I don't know. I don't know what Scott Parker. This is, like I said, this looks like another Scott Parker team, and I'm not sure they're going to survive the league, George. I really don't.
No, they don't look like it, do they? But like I say, we can only play what's in front of us, and I thought it's not easy for us because I think we can now say we start off with a high intensity in games now. We've done it every game this season. and we go hell for leather, if you will. And
Oh, I'm sorry,
eventually,
George. I'm sorry. Did I say it was that was Jesus who scored, the Odegaard scored? Go ahead. Sorry, it just struck me. Go ahead. Sorry,
uh,
George.
yeah, he made the goal, Jesus. He didn't
Yeah, yeah,
score.
yeah.
But we go hell for leather, and we're going 2 goals up early on in games, but you can't sustain that. It's unsustainable. It's like pressing's unsustainable. If you haven't got the ball, you can't press for 90 minutes, and neither can you go hell for leather for 90 minutes. So it's inevitable that once you go in front, the tempo of the game slows down, and you don't look as dangerous or as effective. I mean, it's not like Manchester City. Manchester City don't go hell for leather at the beginning. It's a consistent way of playing throughout the game, so they can step it up at the end of games because they're not tired, because they've not pushed, they've not pressed, they've just played their game. Well, we're not in that position, not by a million miles.
Yes.
So I think that's why we look good at the beginning of games and fade towards the end. And it's not a fitness thing. It's that no team can ever play like that, like we do in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes for 90 minutes. It's just not possible. It's never been possible and never will be possible.
It's just not humanly possible.
No, it's not. I mean,
And, psychologically too, George.
It's like Usain Bolt running an 800 meters, and he sets off like he's running 100 meters.
Yes.
He's going to look like he's going to win by a mile, and then eventually he'll tire, and other people will catch him up, and he probably won't end up winning at all.
Right.
So you just run out of it. You got to. And when there's no, like I said, there's no team can play like we play in the first 20, 25 minutes and sustain it. You got to hope that you get in front. Like I said, unlike Manchester City and Liverpool, who just keep playing the same way from the kickoff to the final whistle, and can step it up if need be towards the end.
Yes.
I'm really not sure if we're not in front, how we're going to be able to step it up towards the end of games if we start like that. But that's a question for when that arises. As long as we keep blowing teams away early doors that we're better than, getting in front and we're not hanging on, but then controlling the game, which we did. We controlled the game. They never looked a serious threat. We'll be all right until we play some teams that we haven't got the ball, that if we go hell for leather at them, they'll just 2 or 3 passes skip past us and we'll be in trouble. But we'll see what happens when we play those teams.
Exactly. And we don't want to, come to any conclusions before then. Of course.
No, we don't want to write us off either.
No.
I'm not saying we won't be able to find a way to beat them. We've got to hope we can. What I'm saying is, until we play them, we won't know.
George, in the same vein, last year we were 0 for 3, 0 wins, 0 draws. We had
0 goals.
0 goals too, right? 0 in every capacity. But this year we are 3 wins on the trot, 9 goals for, 2 against. How good are we? Before you answer that question, last year we constantly made the point, and you have there that one of the problems that the team had was that it wasn't able to play to Aubameyang's strength. This year we have a different kind of striker, the kind of striker that is willing to work from the midfield and create chances. So how good are we? How much better are we this year?
We're a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
An awful lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And we're an awful lot better because we've got 2 great players and brought a great player back from loan.
Saliba, yes.
And that's it. That basically is it. That's why we're better, and that's why we look better. It's not. I say it every week. It's not rocket science. We've bought better players, therefore we're playing better. We're able to play with more intensity because they're more intense players, they're younger players. Jesus is staggeringly good. I mean, somebody asked a question today on Twitter. Well, it was Paul Poos in Pants or whatever we call him. And he was saying that he thinks Jesus will be a better buy than Haaland. And I sort of agree in a way, because Jesus has improved us more than Haaland will improve Manchester City. Well, but it's the law of diminishing returns. Yes. When you're as good as they are, there's very little improvement to be had. That marginal improvement that he might make will take them a little bit further up. But we had a long way to go. We had a big gap to close. Yes. And Jesus has made a big impression. He's made a big difference. He's a fantastic player. So we'll see. I don't think it's a flash in the pan. I think he'll be consistent like this. I think he'll more or less always have a good game. His work rate, everything about him is just great. But, let's be honest, he's at us and Haaland's at City for a reason.
Right. No, Haaland is a goal scorer, George. And I think what Pep's goal is, he needs to get at least 2 or 3 more points. He needs to have at least 6 more points. He needs to have, when he's calculating, he wants to have a margin of 6 points above Liverpool. You know what I mean, George? Just to have a player.
So he doesn't have to beat them.
Exactly.
But I mean, I don't want to talk about Manchester City.
We don't want to talk about them, but that's why they went for it.
But what I would say about Haaland is Pep's changed his system to suit Haaland.
Yes.
People said, "Oh, I mean, you think he passed the ball twice in the last game they played, twice, and one was from the kickoff."
Yes.
Right, but it doesn't matter because where he is on the shoulder of
the last defender,
the last defender, they want to have 2 defenders on him. They want to double up on him because they can't cope with him on his own.
Yes.
They can't leave him. They've got to follow him around wherever he goes.
Yes.
And he opens up acres of space for the Harlem Globetrotters that are behind him that don't need him to score goals. They've been scoring enough goals to win the Premier League without a striker for 3 years, basically. So he just makes that space and they do their thing. And if the defenders get lazy and leave him alone for a minute, they'll just slip a long ball through to him and he'll run away from everybody and bang it in the back of the net because he's a phenomenal player. What an athlete he is. I mean, he's ridiculously quick and powerful and strong and calculating and cool. He's a real deal, that guy. So I agree with Paul that Jesus will make more of a difference to us. We'll get more points because of him than City will gain because of Haaland, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't swap him.
George, time for a commercial break. Guys, remember, need you to like and subscribe. We need the likes to get above those YouTube algorithms, and we need, well, subscription is growing. We are a niche podcast. We'll never get millions, but we think we've been watching football. George, I've been watching football for about 50 years now. I think we have something to contribute, and certainly not get carried away by the things that we see. George, let's get over the Manchester City fest that we had here, although they're the standard by which everybody's judged. But last year we had a problem. Once another team pegged us back or scored, we had a problem. No, once they scored, we released the handbrake. But once they pegged us back, we had a problem getting back in the game. That was a big issue. How good is this team? How good is much better is it? You think in terms of controlling games?
Well, we're better at controlling games up to now, but the standard of the teams that we've played haven't been great. You know, we play well at home against Leicester, but I thought are they bottom of the league, Leicester, at the moment?
Well, they're not. They're close to.
It's
I
not
see.
only Manchester United are giving them a lift.
Yes.
Keeping them off the bottom spot, the bastards.
Yes.
But Leicester weren't good. We didn't control the game against Palace. We were very much second best for 2/3 of the game against
Second
Palace.
half, yes.
The 2-0 was rather flattering to us, to say the least. Mm-hmm. And what amuses me is I watched Tottenham Hotspur play yesterday, and they weren't better than Wolves. Wolves were far better than them in the first half. Tottenham, they were about a level game in the second half, but somehow Spurs managed to win. And all our fans are saying, oh, lucky Spurs, they didn't play well, they got outplayed for large, poor, bloody hell, rubbish, lucky. If you were to say, well, what about us against Crystal Palace? Oh, no, that's different. No, that's different.
That's not, you know what?
That was tactics.
Yes.
We're not honest with our appraisals of our performance or the performances of other teams. And until we do that, we don't know, because we've had 3 games, like I say, and one of them we were basically outplayed for most of the game, although we won 2-0. Leicester were pretty poor, but we were fantastic in that game, and we were fantastic yesterday. But, Bournemouth and a struggling Leicester. Yeah. Let's wait. Unfortunately, we've got 2 fairly easy games coming up as well.
Yes. What we play? Newcastle? I'm struggling to remember. I'm going to look up the fixtures while you're talking, George, and about who we're playing next. Fixtures, come on. But go ahead, George. Are you there with me?
We'll see. I mean, and then I think we had what we looked like our first difficult game was Manchester United. Well, that doesn't look very difficult at the moment either, does it?
Yeah, actually, George, we have next Saturday Fulham, which I don't think we're fearing them, and then Aston Villa on Wednesday, the 31st of August. So it's those first 5 games we should have 15 points.
We should have 15. Well, I predicted we would get 15 points before the start of the season. Mm-hmm. I thought we'll get 15 points and we'll finish 5th. Mm-hmm. I'm now sort of revising that. As I said last week, I think we could get top 4. We still don't look anywhere as good as Manchester City, Liverpool, despite the fact they've only got 2 points, or Chelsea. Yeah. I was hugely impressed by Chelsea against Spurs, even though they got robbed.
Yes,
they looked really good.
And they might get
a forward.
God forsake. God forsake. God forsake for the sake of the Arteta sexuals.
Well, I'm not bothered whether they get him or not. He is 33 years old.
Yes, he's 34 actually, George.
He's 34.
Yes, because I was writing a piece about him and I was saying, why is
33 till he's 34? That's how it works.
Anyway, I don't want to get into an argument about age with you.
But anyway, he's no spring chicken.
Yes.
So I'm not particularly bothered whether they get him or not. I
never
thought he was a phenomenal player. Anyway, he's a phenomenal goal scorer, but he did have weaknesses. His link-up play was poor.
Yes.
It certainly doesn't suit a number 9 in my book. And if they buy him as a number 9, good luck to them. If they buy him and play him as a wide forward, then he'll probably score. But I think they're well stocked in those areas. So if they're looking to buy him as a number 9, well, they can have him. Good luck to him. I mean, he's not our player anymore. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Yes.
It doesn't affect me one way or another. I just don't want to go through 12 months of every time he scores, everybody that doesn't like Arteta saying, "Oh, look, Aubameyang scored again," like he did when he was scoring for Barcelona. Or, on the other hand, every time he misses a chance, all the Arteta sexuals, "Oh, look, missed a chance. He's crap. He's finished. We were right to give him away for free."
And then Barcelona make a $22 million profit
Yeah,
on him right
give
up
him
front.
away for free. Good.
Yes,
Paid
it's
his
strange.
wages. Yay.
Yeah.
In fact, we paid him to leave, 7 or 8 million quid to leave. But anyway, what's that? What's 30 million pounds to me? It's not my fucking money.
The Cronkies are spending, George, and George, I think I said it in a blog. What I write infrequently, but when I see Arteta,
I've read your blog, Shotta. It's a good job you only write infrequently.
And yeah, I leave it all to Shark Gooner. But I think he's gonna buy somebody else, George. I really do this before this window is up. The signs are pointing to it. This is an aside, but they're telling Pepe get out of town. I just think they're gonna do it.
That's another 73 million pounds down the fucking drain, isn't it?
Exactly.
Plus wages.
George, I'm shaking my head because I work in finance. It catches up with you at some point, George.
Well, here's the thing, Shotta.
Yeah.
This is how I see it now. I watch the team play right now. I look at the fact that we bought Jesus, we bought Shevchenko, who's a phenomenal player, by the way.
Yes.
We brought Saliba back. Gabriel's things are going well. Everybody's playing okay. The football's lovely to watch. Everything looks fine, and you can accept that. Arteta's doing okay at the moment. There's no question. It's much, much better. But, however, he's fucking squandered about £200 million over the last 2.5 years on things that didn't work and giving players away and when we could have sold them and paying them off, devaluing them. £200 million. If he'd have better used that, where would we have been? Exactly. If we are where we are now, which is good, despite him throwing £200 million down the drain, where could we have been? Where would we have been with a manager that didn't throw that money away? But we'll never know. We'll never know. It's subjective, isn't it? If you'd have given Patrick Vieira £300 million to spend from 2.5 years ago when Arteta got the job, where would we have been now? We might have been better, we might have been worse. Nobody can say. But
George, Patrick Vieira is too badly scrounging around looking for players in the French league, and it just tells me that. We used to be impressed by the fact that we could develop players and not spend on players. But that aside, the issue I'm having is people don't want you to even criticize. You don't even say don't want.
No, you can't question. You can't question now. Honestly, if somebody says Mikel Arteta and you don't get a hard on, you're not a proper fan.
Yes.
You've got to immediately jump to attention with a bulge in your pants when his name's mentioned. Yeah. That's how it's got to the stage of fucking worship. You're not allowed to say he's doing a good job. I'm happy with things as they are, but I don't fucking like him. Oh, you can't say that. You've got to like him. Not only have you got to like him, you've got to adore him. You've almost got to worship him. It's like fucking 10 commandments now on Arsenal Twitter. Thou shalt not fucking take the Lord's name in vain. You can't say anything against the cunt.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's a bit of a cunt. But that doesn't mean he can't be a good manager.
Oh, yeah.
And look at Brian Clough. What a twat he was. Absolute. Alec Ferguson. Absolute fucking horrible fucking man. You can't all be Arsene Wenger. Doesn't matter. But Mikel Arteta, he seems beyond reproach. You can't question any of the mistakes he's made. They'll tell you they weren't mistakes. That £200 million, it's money saved somehow. I mean, it beggars belief.
George, I'm shaking my head because every time you see me shaking my head, folks, is because I'm wondering how I should say this. But somebody wrote a piece that when Arteta was captain, the fines he collected, I find this astonishing, and that says something about the individual. He collected the fines and then he turned around and buy Gazidis a gold watch. What does that tell you about the individual? When
Well,
I say individual, go ahead, sir.
it tells you he knows which side his fucking bread's buttered on.
Tells me.
That's for sure. And he does the same thing
Today.
with fucking Stan Kroenke and Josh. I'll be surprised if they're not sporting new watches at Christmas.
You see what I'm saying, George?
There's a postcard here from Mikel. Oh, I've got a Rolex for Christmas. Hey.
From the fines.
Yes,
from the money I saved.
From Aubameyang and Ozil's fines.
It's amazing. George, okay, moving right along. Guys, you can't separate the man from their personal. Anyway. And we're living in a corporate environment, George. That's the other thing. We think it's the old-time club when the owners and everybody was in the same boat. This is a corporation that's trying to milk the fans as much as they can. This is not.
This is what people don't understand. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how much money Mikel Arteta has lost, how much it's cost us, how many points have been thrown away by bad decisions in previous years. Whether we should have been in the Champions League or not, the fact that we threw it away twice doesn't matter. It's the perception that everything is good now and he's brilliant. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Right.
As long as the majority of fans have the perception that Arteta loves Arsenal. He loves Arsenal. He loved Arsenal that much. When he left the day after, every fucking mention of him on any of his social media accounts had been fucking taken down.
Taken down.
He doesn't love Arsenal. I'm not saying he doesn't like Arsenal. I'm sure he has an affection for the club because they give him the chance to play in the big league.
Yes.
We gave him his chance. Arsenal brought him to Arsenal. But
he's all corporate.
Spare me this fucking nonsense that somehow he's got the affection for the club that Arsene Wenger had after 20 years. He hasn't, in my opinion. But again, that doesn't matter. As long as, that fucking All or Nothing. Have you watched it?
No, I've seen enough of it on Twitter.
It's so rehearsed. Honestly, it's so rehearsed. It's just not fucking true. They'll say something, and then the guy that he's talking to will give him all the reasons why he's right. Oh, yeah, you're right about that. I bang him. Well, yeah, you can never get rid of him. He's 33 years old. He's on.
I saw that.
Oh, yeah. You go, yeah. What the fuck are you talking about? Where's the other side of the argument? Can we go to Aubameyang now and fucking hear what he has to say? No, because that's not the perception they want to give you. They want to give you the idea that all the decisions that were being made were right and unquestionable and for the right motives.
Josh, can we end on one note before I go to the player ratings? I saw another clip on Twitter with the great Mr. Edu. I'm just thinking about giving. I think it was giving away who. I can't remember who it was. The player who was discussing. We can't get any money for him, right?
It was Aubameyang.
I think it was Aubameyang. And the thing that struck me, George, is that Edu's experience in selling players. He never had a top job. He was a general coordinator for the Brazilian team, which
they don't have transfers in and out.
Exactly. And I'm saying, would you employ somebody like that to run your club? I just
Honestly,
don't.
Well, we've got to go back to the fact we're doing all right now.
Yes.
Give him credit and give Arteta some credit. We're much improved and we're doing better. But I'll tell you what, I could do that job.
Exactly.
What are you going to do?
Give me that don't give me 2 million a year, George.
This is your job. How are you going to solve the problem of Aubameyang, Ozil, these other players. Well, I'm going to give them away for free and I'm going to pay the wages. That'll get them off the books. Right. Okay. Great. Sound. Now, what about buying players? What are you going to do? I'm going to buy players that Pep Guardiola's taught how to play, top class players that they don't need anymore. That's who I'm going to buy. You know, if they ring me up and say, the window's nearly closed, what should we do, George? I'll say, go and ask Pep Guardiola, is Gundogan available? Can we have him? And
George,
it's not fucking difficult, is it? You know, these
George.
players had to be fucking bought if they were available, and we bought them. But don't tell me it's some sort of fucking wonderful plan that nobody else knew about them. Fucking hell.
We're gonna lose all the Arteta sexuals right now, George. But George, going back to the game, Shotta's unscientific player ratings, and I'm only gonna focus on. Well, you see the highlights. I'm not going to try to put down. This is not here to put down players. I remember when a lot of people used to player ratings, so they want to drive certain people out of the club. That's not my intention. It's just for discussion and people to have an argument when they watch this podcast. George, I had for the starters, and by the way, George, for the third time they said we started. Not since Invincible Years, the first time the Invincible Year, how that we've started with the same starting 11.
Even the Invincible. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So
I thought it was 2004.
No, that was what my commentators were, you know.
Yeah, 2004-5, the year after the Invincibles.
Yeah, they were dribbling about that. I didn't give anybody less than a 7 rating from the starting 11, George.
I can see that.
But but I thought Saliba had a great game, especially the goal that he scored, and he gets that 8.0 because of the very nice goal he scored. When that cross came over, I'm trying to figure out who was it that knocked the ball back to him. And
Xhaka.
It was Xhaka. Okay. Martin Odegaard because of the 2 goals he scored. But George, I need to keep a couple of nice passes after that. But I had my concerns. And then Gabriel Jesus, I give him 8.02. George, your comments on this. And you know, George, while you're going to talk about that, we need to talk about the fact that how Zinchenko came in all the way from the left. Xhaka was playing left back. That was a lot of space on the left hand side, on our left hand side that was left. Give me some comments on all this, George.
Well, yeah, I'd give Zinchenko an 8 as well.
You do.
And if I wanted the half point from somewhere, I'd take it off Thomas Partey.
I'm surprised.
You know, again, you see, he got skinned a couple of times. He'd give the ball away. And I see on Twitter how people are saying he had a great game again.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're saying. But anyway, that's fair enough. As for Zinchenko, he's moving inside and Xhaka's doing one of 2 things. One of 3 things. He's either staying in the middle and controlling the play, or he's moving up front, or he's falling back to cover the left back space. Again, Xhaka covering all bases.
Yes.
And by the way, that assist for William Saliba was world class.
Yes, it was right. Well, apparently,
took it on his chest.
Yes.
And he half volley cushioned past it right in front of Saliba. It was a wonderful bit of control and vision. If Mesut Ozil or Cesc Fabregas had done that, you know, we'd have been absolutely drooling about it. But it was.
But that's why I ask you.
But George, it was Xhaka, and he's big, clumsy, and not good enough. And he told the fans to fuck off. So we can't mention that.
But that's why I ask you who cushioned that ball down to Saliba, because every time I watch a replay, I couldn't get to see the shirt name and number. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. And by the way, George, Arteta went and hugged I want to call him the special teams coach because in America they call him special teams. But the guy who does the setup for the set pieces, he went up and hugged him because apparently they had researched it, but it was well executed. I think I should highlight that for the listeners.
Yeah, that set piece coach seems to be doing very well, doesn't he?
Yes.
Did we only concede once from a set piece last season, an entire season?
Well, there were a couple of set pieces and I want to highlight number 6, Gabriel. He headed off the line. That header, that ball pate of his, getting balled, is very sound, George. I mean, I wanted to give him a higher rating. I thought he really saved Ramsdale's bacon a couple of times, because they had a couple of crosses, and one of those long throws ended up almost on, going over the line to score against us, and it was his head that protected the goal. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, he had a decent game. He's a good player.
Yes.
He's not spectacular, but he's a good player, and it's partnerships that count, and he seems to be playing well with Saliba. But again, let's see what they're like when Manchester City's flooding at them, and Liverpool or Chelsea. That'll be more of a test. But up until now, everything looks fantastic.
It does. George, what do you think of that big gaping hole in left back when Zinchenko? Because he's not a great defender, he's a great attacker. But that's a lot of space. I can just imagine Liverpool.
Yeah, well, and again, you can see it.
Yes.
And I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You can be absolutely sure other managers will see it.
Yes.
However, you can also be fairly sure Mikel Arteta knows it's there.
Yes.
And he will do something about it in the games that something has to be done about it. Well, as I said last week, I think what will happen is Tierney will come in for the big games against teams that are, in inverted commas, better teams, or better than us.
Yes.
And I think that'll solve the problem for the day. And personally, I would move Zinchenko into midfield and leave Partey out. But
I know this is not the first time you've said that.
We'll see what happens.
And the last words on Gabriel Jesus.
Well, I said earlier in the podcast, he's fantastic.
I think he was.
I thought he was before we signed him. Not prolific, but that wasn't his role at Manchester City. His goals per minute were out of this world. And people will tell you that, somehow that doesn't matter. Well, of course it matters. Goals per minute, surely that matters. If you've got a decent number of minutes, I mean, if you only played for 30 minutes and you score one goal, it doesn't mean a goal every 30-minute striker, does it? But he was playing a lot over, 5 or 6 years at City, and he has a really staggering goals per minute ratio.
So, I don't have that data, George, and I'll have to go look it up. But I'll take your word for it.
I think it's a goal about every 112 minutes, off the top of my head. But I could be, don't quote me on that precisely. But I think that's the sort of numbers, which is just over a goal a game, isn't it?
Yes. So, George, I thought that the goals that he didn't get were impressive. The offside one, the way he dinked over it was a dink.
It was a fabulous finish. It's a shame. It's a shame to rule it out. You only had to give him that out of sympathy, didn't you?
Right. And then he had another shot that the goalkeeper saved hard. The goalkeeper had to save with his body. I think it was his legs. I didn't think he got a hand to it. Maybe I'm mixing it up, but I thought he was a threat anytime he got
what I like about him is, he can drop deep, he can go left or right, and he can play right up top as a number 9.
Yes.
I mean, that's the whole package. There's nothing missing, is there?
No.
Nothing missing. A bit of height is probably the only thing he's short of.
He's had a header, but he headed a couple of goals. He had a goal headed one of the matches we saw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he did. Mm-hmm. It was a couldn't miss goal that he scored. But even so, he was there to do it. But I just think he's a real deal, in my opinion. Fortunately, Biso's not on the podcast today. Should be telling me what I was talking rubbish.
Yes.
You'd
Have the
have to
substitute.
listen because I
Well,
believe all women.
Bison, we need you, but you got to get up early on a Sunday morning. George, Emil Smith Rowe. I never usually focus on the substitutes, but I thought Emil Smith Rowe, Eddie and Ketia were lively and spirited in their little cameo. I think Eddie started off a little loosely, but then he started really getting into because they came on at 74 minutes, so they only got about 16 minutes to do their stuff. I don't know if you want to say anything about the subs.
No, I mean, again, I saw Smith Rowe get a bit of stick yesterday.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because he come on and he came on for Odegaard, yeah,
Right.
and he doesn't control the game like Odegaard. He can't do what Odegaard does.
Right.
But then again, Odegaard can't do what he does.
Right. Just goal scoring.
The goal scoring and running with the ball.
Yes.
Into the box. So,
Yeah.
If you're going to ask somebody to replace a player and expect them to not only replace them on the team, but replicate their style of play, you'll be constantly disappointed every time a substitution is made.
Yes.
Smith Rowe, for me, should be one of the wide forwards when he comes on. And if we persist in playing him at number 10 when he comes on, he'll consistently get criticised because I don't think that particularly suits him.
No. I agree, George, and I'm worried about him because he's now, it looks like,
well, yeah, he's not
officially a bench player, player coming off the bench. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean he was in the England setup last year. Mm-hmm. He won't be this year. He won't be going to the World Cup, will he?
Coming off the bench at Arsenal, nope. No. George, any last thoughts? Because I thought, all in all, a good win. Your comment is that we're not so sure about how good we are, but we're better than last year. Any last thoughts for the audience?
No, it's not that I'm not so sure that how good we are. We don't know how good we are. We're only speculating because we haven't seen us play good teams. Let's see us play good teams first, and then let's hope that we're as good as a lot of people think we are. We might be. Then again, we might be disappointed. But it's far too early to make our minds up. There's not enough evidence, is there?
I'll just say that they'll say that we're killjoy because the fans that were on the away fans were really singing and William Saliba songs, and they were singing Arsenal, we are the greatest team in the world. So they might say that we're killjoy, but I am agreeing with you, George. We need to see. We need a lot more tests. Last year we were 0-3, and everybody was saying everybody's saying we're going to improve. Well, we're 3-0 this year. We're not going to, we will improve, but we're not going to win the league. I think that's a fair statement to make.
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah, but what I just keep harking back to is that we're in doubt how good we are.
Yes.
Right? We don't know. We're not sure. We might not be as good as we think a lot of people think we are. Then again, we might be.
Yeah.
12 months ago, you were absolutely sure that we weren't a good team.
True.
There was no question. Somebody said, how good are we? Well, we're not so fucking good, really. Have you watched us play? It's dross. Yeah. You're not going to say that this year. And that's a positive. We're absolutely, not only are we moving in the right direction, but we've sprinted to the front. We've passed the fucking pack, and we're now on the shoulder of the leaders. Whether we can keep up with them over the marathon course, I don't know. But at least now we think we might. We think we might be a good team. We could be a good team. We weren't a good team last year or the year before.
Agreed, you 100%, George. Thank you very much, my friend. Until we meet again after the game against, I think it's Fulham, I said. Then we'll probably, they're not too good at team, but we might have a better idea of how good we are. Thank you, George.
They did all right the other week, didn't they? They got a draw at Liverpool, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And they were unlucky not to beat them.
Is that the game that Darwin got sent off? No. Yeah. That boy is lethal though, George.
No, I don't think it was. No, I don't think it was.
I don't think it was. It was a stronger team. Anyway, George, thank you very much. And remember, guys, to like and subscribe. We admitted we are a niche. We're two old fogies seeing too much football, but we're not going to just go jumping out the roof just yet. We're just enjoying our football. Thanks again. Bye, George. Bye.